In a year like 2020, some days it's been tougher to find joy than others. My next guest is responsible for making me smile, laugh, and cry this year. He has had over 1 billion views on YouTube and made the New York Times bestseller list twice. Acclaimed photographer Jordan Matter. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Natalie.
Now, your New York Times bestseller books, one of them at least came out before YouTube took off for you.
Yeah.
But in 2017, and this is how I found you, you started making these 10-minute challenge videos,
Right.
but running around different cities around the world with dancers and creating some of the most exceptional photography I've seen in the longest time. How did that idea even come about?
It came about ironically because I was seeing a lot of posts on Instagram from photographers posting their dance photos, and then I was reading the comments, and all these comments were, "Oh man, you're such a great photographer," and I didn't feel like there was enough credit being given to the dancers themselves for what they were doing. So I was with this dancer, Anna McNulty. We were just starting to do YouTube videos, and Anna is exceptional. I was realizing I was getting every photo in one try because of how good she was. So I had somebody with me. I said, "Can you just hold this camera and film me?" And I said, "Dance photography is really easy if you have the right dancer. Let me prove it. Let's see how many shots we can get in 5 minutes." And then I just posted that, and people loved it. So I thought, this could be something, but I need more than 5 minutes to really make it interesting. And then I came up with a 10-minute photo challenge idea.
And you have shot in cities across America and the world, because you have actually shot in Australia as well.
Yes.
Sydney and Melbourne, are they the only two cities?
And Adelaide.
Oh, okay. That is one video I haven't found, so I'll have to go look into that.
We never posted it.
Ah.
There's been a couple of videos that we've made that we didn't post, and that was one of them. It was, unfortunately, by the time we got back to it, we had moved beyond what we shot that day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, fair enough. It happens. I know I've filmed things that just,
Yeah.
It's sort of now or never. We did
shoot several videos in Melbourne and post several in Sydney. So we have quite a few Australia videos out there.
So I have to say, finding the Melbourne videos, it was beautiful to see the city that I come from captured in such an incredible way. You did Luna Park, you did Melbourne CBD, so Flinders Street, which is famous around the world, and all of our alleyways that are, again, famous for the graffiti, and that certainly makes for interesting photography. The video that actually made me cry and genuinely brought tears to my eyes was the Cirque du Soleil video in Sydney.
Yeah.
What those people did defies belief, and this woman leaping off these stairs into her partner's arms. Does that make your heart race?
Yeah, it does. And I've found that the more we do, the more fear I need to feel in order for it to really be good. And that's part of what the 10-minute challenge is for me, because it's not just that we do however many shots we can get 10 minutes. I want each shot to be really interesting, and I want to create a scenario, and I don't want to plan it out ahead of time. So all of that makes me feel anxious. And then on top of it, we never have permission. So we didn't have permission in that location. And these guys are doing scary stuff. And they're flying in the air and jumping off. And so there's a lot of adrenaline packed into 10 minutes.
So when I first started watching the videos, I had wondered if you do get permission. And then I watched the video in Miami where you kept getting kicked out of Sephora.
Yeah, we got kicked out of Sephora twice. And before that, in Miami, with that same girl, a year before, the police arrived at a grocery store because we did a 10-minute challenge in the grocery store, and some milk spilled, and the police were there out of nowhere. So no, we don't ever get permission. And that's not that I'm trying to be subversive. It's just that I don't know what I'm going to do ahead of time. So we don't have the time to get the permission because I only thought of those locations that same day.
And so you've done things in Target, obviously Sephora. There was one that I was watching on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. And you get these girls to sneak into stores and pose in the front windows with the mannequins and all of that. Have you ever been cited by the police, charged, or anything like that, or you've managed to talk your way out of everything?
I've managed to talk my way out of it. Yeah.
Do you just show them the photography and say, hey, this is what I'm doing?
I'm pretty straightforward about it, including acknowledging I don't have permission, and realizing that I should have asked ahead of time, and saying that I'm finished and not challenging them. But the way I look at this is, and this is the way I've always shot, because even in my books, I wouldn't have permission for those locations either. So the way I feel is this: if you're not hurting anybody, either emotionally or physically, and you're willing to take the risk and take the consequences if you get caught, then it's all right, you know. As long as I'm very clear, I don't want anybody, I don't want to hurt anybody, I don't want to put anybody out. You know, if we make a mess, we always clean it, things like that. But it's a little more fun, you know. If we had permission in Sephora, that wouldn't really be that exciting. And since it's all spontaneous, and I don't know until I see Sephora and I go running over there while we're filming, I don't know I'm going to do it anyway. So it's impossible to get permission.
So you had no idea when you were working with some of the aerial acro people in New York that you were going to hang them from a bridge?
No, I knew that I wanted them to hang from something because they're aerialists, and so we got to find something to hang. And I knew that we didn't have any permission to hang from anything, and I wanted it to be as awesome as it could be. And then we walked around a lot. A lot of it was walking around, and we don't film that part.
Well, you can only hold people's attention for so long, and you've got to show them the good bits. Now, one of the other things that you've done is a lot for body positivity. And one of those things was Uncovered, which was a book that was inspired by the wardrobe malfunction of Janet Jackson at the Super Bowl.
Yes, that was, wow, you did your research. That goes way back. I self-published that book. That was the first book I ever published. And what really inspired it was I was doing headshots then. And I would photograph all these actresses, and they're beautiful, right? And they were in shape and all that, whatever our classic definition of beauty is. And they would say, don't photograph my arm because it's fat, or this thing or that thing. And they didn't like the way they looked. My cheeks are pudgy. And I always thought, you know, your perception of yourself is a lot different from my perception of you. And at that same time, I found out that it's legal to be top-free or topless in New York City or state. You can do it. You could do it. You could go to Manhattan, take off your shirt, walk around. They can't do anything to you. If I do it, nobody even really looks twice. If you do it, it's a big commotion. So what I did was I took women of all ages, shapes, and sizes, and I had them pose doing everyday things with their tops off. And then I had another woman interview them and talk about body image issues. And then that ended up on the Today Show. It ended up on a bunch of other shows as well.
And I think the reason why that's still relevant is, apart from the fact that Janet Jackson was shamed and Justin Timberlake never had a bad word said against him, there's an ongoing battle on Instagram and social media for free the nipple. And it's, for a lot of people, it shouldn't be a big deal because everybody on the planet is born with a pair of nipples, and why does it matter if they're on bigger breasts, smaller breasts, or no breasts? The other project that you did was Dances After Dark, which was naked dancers at night, cities across the world, out the front of the Louvre and throughout New York. Again, you've said that you haven't been arrested, but were you getting into trouble for those shoots?
Well, what's interesting is, you know, what in the last few years, what I've become known for is YouTube stuff and family-friendly content, and somehow family-friendly and nudity are considered to be polar opposites. And so any mention of Uncovered or Dance After Dark is never brought up in interviews. And I love that it is today, because Dance After Dark is my favorite thing that I've ever done. By far, my favorite thing I've ever done, including, as a matter of fact, danceafterdark.com, you should look at the videos if you like videos. They're gorgeous. I did get in trouble often, but never got arrested. The way we would do it, first of all, it's the nudity is very subtle. There's no, you know, groin, junk area. We cover most everything.
It's not sexual at all.
It's not sexual in any way. And what I loved about it, it was all at night, so I had to learn lighting, and it's all about the physicality of the dancers and celebrating the beauty of, you know, they're like statues, right? But then we do it in crazy places. So we have a lot of crazy stories. I did travel all over Europe and North America, never with permission, the Berlin Wall, the Louvre, I mean, everywhere you could imagine, Times Square. And we would practice the shot clothed. And then I'd say 1, 2, 3, go, and they'd rip off their clothes, and they'd go and they'd hit their pose, and we'd shoot for like 10 seconds, we'd review, we'd do it again. It was really remarkable. I love that book.
Looking at the photos, because obviously when I research, I'm working against a time crunch. I got lost in those photos for hours. Just every photo was more beautiful than the next. And I take my hat off to you for doing it, because I'm someone that supports showing the body in a non-sexual way to show people that to look at those sort of images doesn't need to be a sexual thing. It is just admiring beauty in all forms.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting about that is that I did a book, Dancers Among Us, which was dancers in everyday situation, clothed, right, everyday situations. And then I did Dancers After Dark, and I would say Dancers Among Us is more sexual, or more sexy anyway, because I put them in romantic, intimate settings, and then put a dance version of it. Whereas with Dancers After Dark, I was so conscious to not make it sexual, because I didn't want to sexualize them. I wanted to celebrate their physicality without making them sexual. And it's a fine line, especially when you have partners together and you're trying to partner in a way that is a dance shape rather than a sexual pose. And that was one of the challenges, but I think we did well with it.
You did exceptionally well. And staying on the body positivity conversation, a bullied dancer made headlines and went viral because she's plus size. Lizzie Howe, and you did a video with her, and the video is fantastic. But the thing that I loved most about this, you were doing a shot in Times Square in New York, and somebody started to act like a complete jerk. And you didn't cut this out of the video, you actually showed it. And you asked this guy's mother, you know, are you that guy? And she said, no, he's not. And then it showed the conversation between you two. Lizzie's face in that moment just beams because, you know, there's somebody standing up for her. How important was it for you to do that video?
Well, it was really important for me to do that video, and I didn't realize till later that that moment was very important for her. You know, as a kid, I was bullied a lot, but nothing like what she's gone through. When you're used to being the subject of the bullying, you're not used to having somebody step in and sing your praises, which is what I was doing. And the kid was all right, actually. I mean, afterwards he understood, and actually an interesting story is he reached out to me after when the video posted, and he said, can you blur out my friends? Because we blurred him out, but we didn't blur them out. And we said, okay. And he said, listen, I'm a big fan. I'm sorry that that happened. Like he was great after the fact. In the moment, he was a little bit of a jerk. He was trying to show off, I think. But I think that what happened with that video, and I've done several others about body positivity, is that people need a hero, you know, and it's hard to find a hero that looks like you when you look like Lizzie. We don't celebrate that, which is a shame, and we should, but we don't. So she is a hero, and she's remarkably strong. And what I said at the beginning of the video is what I want you to think about is for the last 10 years, every day she's put on a leotard and gone to dance class knowing she was going to get teased. And she goes back every day anyway. Like, that's unbelievable to me. You know, when you get teased, it's brutal and you want to just cover up and die and hide and never go back. She went back to that situation every day of her life. And so I have an incredible amount of respect for her, and I was happy to tell her story. And I always am looking for more people whose stories like that I can tell.
In Australia, having worked in entertainment my whole life, I too have been on the wrong side of bullying. Well, I say wrong side, but I have been bullied. And as a result, I ended up as an ambassador for Bully Zero Australia, and I had the opportunity to go out and speak at a number of schools and corporations. And some of the feedback that I got of children apologising to the children that they bullied after I had talked about my story made every day that I went out there worthwhile. And I think every time we talk about it and show it for what it really is, I think that if that stops one case of bullying, it's worth it. So I thank you for doing what you did. I would love to keep talking, but we are out of time. People can find you on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, where else?
TikTok, all of it. Always my name, just my name.
Perfect. If you haven't already looked up Jordan Matter, I promise you it will be well worth the time that you spend on social media, although I warn you, hours will elapse before you realize. Jordan, thank you so much for joining us on The Informer.
Of course. Thank you, Natalie.